Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Question first. I was looking at the screen of Jewel Kong, and I was wondering. I want to ask Master Z. He doesn't answer me now, but I was wondering. Is that Buddha Hall, how is it compared to the Go Force Buddha Hall? Okay, anyway. All right, let's see. Do we have any questions, or does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? No? Okay. What about, do we have the slides? Not set up? Okay. We've been talking about the process of cultivation based on the Asian culture, Chinese culture, as taught by Confucius, which is who is actually, as Master YongHua said, my late Chinese teacher, he said actually is a bodhisattva by the name of 水月, water, moon. Okay, so he was sent to China to pave the way for Mahayana to take root. So, and that's why a lot of Confucian value systems is actually very close to the Buddhist value system. Okay, so as I was telling you, when I was younger, I was more impressed with the Western value system because they seem to be winners, whereas we Asians seem to lag behind them. So it's no surprise that now the Chinese and the Asians are adopting Western value systems, and they more or less don't understand the Asian heritage anymore. And that's a shame, especially for our future generations. There should be a good balance between the Asian value system, our heritage, as well as the good things about the Western value systems as well. So that's critical for us to understand and help prepare our children for better lives. Okay. So, do you have the slides? So the four things are in a very simple fashion. I remember as a youngster, as a teenager, was the four phases: to cultivate oneself. Body here refers to yourself. Rectify the family, govern the country, and pacify the world. So a person as an individual, we engage ourselves based on how well we can do these things. Okay. All right. So we talked about cultivation. And cultivation, the thing about the Chinese words is that it has so much depth that the word cultivate doesn't do justice to it. But cultivation in general has a concept of fixing yourself, fixing your flaws, and enhancing your core, if you will. We have some flaws because we picked up some bad habits from the outside. Okay, but originally our core value is very, very good, very strong. So that's why the superior Asian approach to education, in my humble opinion, is that they start with the core, okay? That is a core value system. We should get rid of the ickiness from ourselves, okay, and rectify our mind so that we become a more wholesome person, and so that to us, that's how to me the Asian value system is that's how we gauge improvement from an Asian perspective. That is, we gauge ourselves as improving, as having improved when our core value systems are stronger and are more dominant. All right? Instead of the Western value system is, again, they gauge success by, let's say, how much money you have, how much recognition you have, what kind of social status you have, okay? Those are inherently not important to your happiness. Let's face it, we all know many people who have a high social status, who are wealthy, and who are famous, okay? I have yet to see any of them who is truly happy. The rich people here in the U.S., I know, I used to, out there in the world, I used to work for rich people. They reported directly to rich people. And these rich people, amazingly, okay, they're very successful, very well respected, but they are alcoholics. They cannot take the stress, so they have to drink alcohol, okay? And most of these rich people and powerful people are alcoholics, in my experience, okay? So you see, it's because these people were not prepared for success. They were not prepared to handle success. It's because the Westerners, the Western education system failed to stress the core value systems. In contrast, for example, my Chinese teacher, when he said, my emphasis in terms of propagating Buddhism, Mahayana, is education. Okay? He says one of the three things he wanted us to do, my generation to do, is number one, education, number two, training, number three, translation of the Mahayana texts from his Chinese explanations into Western languages or other languages. Okay, and so as far as education goes, he set the model. The model that he set up some high schools at the city of 10,000 Buddhas. Which I highly recommend for your children to go there for summer camp, for example. They do have summer camps, okay? Very good exposure for the kids, okay? And not sure how much it costs or whatever, but so the boys are separated from the girls, okay? And the boys' schools are called Instilling Goodness, and the girls' schools is called Developing Virtues. So as a boy, we're supposed to become a good person. So the school's emphasis, okay, is to teach the boys to be good people. All right. And as far as girls go, then they are expected to develop virtues. What are virtues then? Please help me out. What is your concept of virtues? What's virtues to you? Okay, thank you for the overwhelming response. All right, virtues, let me tell you in very simple terms, okay? Virtues here refers to the Chinese wisdom as well, where, remember, girls are supposed to develop virtues, which is appropriate for the yin nature of the women. Okay, meaning that virtues for ladies are supposed to be yielding. You yield, and number two, you're supposed to take losses. All right, that's Asian virtues. Yeah. Unlike nowadays, when your children, your 小Qing's generation, they go out and they learn from the great universities. They don't, they teach you you're supposed to be smart and successful, and you don't, and has nothing to do with yielding, has nothing to do with taking losses. Okay, so it's me culture, whereas the Asian cultures stresses more virtues for the ladies and goodness for the men. Okay, when you think about it, it's a lot of wisdom. When you explain this to Westerners, they might take it wrong. They say, you guys are so sexist and so forth. But there's a reason for that. You can explain it in terms of yin and yang. Okay, yang has to be tempered by developing, by growing towards goodness, and yin has to be tempered by yielding and by learning to take losses. All right. So, for example, in my mother's generation, okay, the women are supposed to yield to the husbands, and then suffer and make sacrifices for the family as a value system of the ladies. Okay. I don't know how it is nowadays. Jumi, what is your view of the virtues of a lady for nowadays? You believe in taking losses? You believe in making sacrifices? Or you think it's nonsense?
저는 사실은 한국 사회에 좀 잘 안 맞는 여성이었습니다. 그러니까 학교에서 배우기로는 방금 마스터께서 말씀하신 부분을 강조했는데, 왜 내가 여자라는 이유 때문에 양보해야 되고, 연결이 되어 있나요, 지금? 네네. 내가 여자라는 이유 때문에, 그러니까 약간 여자라는 이유 때문에 왜 양보를 해야 되고, 왜 희생을 해야 되는지, 그거에 대해서 의문을 가지고 있었고, 세란이 더 얘기해도 될까요? 아니면 한번 끊을까요?
It sounds like she's making excuses. Am I correct so far? No?
No, she just explained that her experience while she's when she went to school. She says, to be honest, I'm not fit for Korean culture. When I was going to school, they emphasized what should be the woman's behavior, the lady's behavior, proper behavior. They said, I need to sacrifice, I need to yield. I need to yield, I need to sacrifice. So, to my mind, this was a big question.
I've never been to Korea, and yet I know you're supposed to yield and make sacrifices.
그렇게 양보를 하고 희생을 해야 되는지 몰랐습니다. So she will continue.
Yes.
Thank you.
네. 그리고 이제 제가 생각하는 이제 세속의 사회는, 속세는 한정된 재화가 있고, 그 한정된 재화를 제가 많이 가져가고 많은 이익을 가져가려면 먼저 선점해야 된다고 생각하고 정보를 중요하게 생각해 왔습니다. 그래서 양보와 그런 것과는 거리가 덕이 있는 여성은 아니었습니다.
So I was doing, when I went out to the society, it was a Saha world and there are some limitations. So it was important for me that I need to gain more, and especially with the informations. And I was far away from yielding, and that was how it was.
네, 근데 여기서 마스터의 법을 만나면서, 대승의 법을 만나면서, 손해를 감수해라, 희생해라, 이제 이런 종지를 보면서 어떻게 내가 희생하고 양보하고 내 이익을 포기하는데 내가 진전할 수 있는지 늘 의문이 있었었습니다, 사실은.
So I met with Master's Dharma, and Master told us, take a loss and also yield and sacrifice. So Master's proper Dharma, when I faced the Master's proper Dharma, I was questioning, how can I improve when I take a loss and when I sacrifice?
네, 그래서, 네, 어쨌든, 일단 지금 제가 생각하고 있는 거는 제 안에 많은 이기심, 탐욕, 그런 것들을 차츰 비워내는 거를 초점하고 있습니다.
So what's in my thought, what's in my mind is now the ghost inside of me and then all the greed. I'm trying to empty those things gradually and try to focus to empty those things gradually.
Okay, very good. The rest of you help her out. It doesn't make sense. She says she does not subscribe to taking losses. She has a hard time yielding. How about the rest of you? I think most of you feel that way too, especially in my generation, my mother and the people my generation, when they get older, they get resentful, especially women. They say, I spend my entire life yielding and taking losses, and what have I got? A sick body, okay? And my children desert me, okay? So they actually, for a lot of Asian ladies, they become resentful of the husbands. They said, my entire life is unfair to me. I don't ever want to become a woman ever. If I come back here, I want to be a man. Okay? The rest of you, since most of you are Asian ladies, you have any opinion? You have anything that you'd like to share with us? Okay, very good. We will not rush you. Think about that. So, does it make sense to yield? Does it make sense to make sacrifices? And at the end of your life, when you get older, and you give the best years of your life to your husband, to your family, what have you got? Nothing, an empty house. Okay? So, does it make sense? Well, yes, go ahead.
Master Lu should raise hands.
Yeah, go ahead. 루치.
네, 저는 주미 씨보다 한 세대 윗세대입니다. 그래서 주미 씨의 그 상황을 아주 잘 이해할 수 있고, 저도 젊은 시절에는 그런 경험을 했었습니다. 내가 왜 이렇게 희생을 해야 되고 내 뜻을 펼치지 못해야 되는가. 정말 다음 세상에 태어나면 꼭 남자로 태어나야지. 그런 생각을 한 적이 있었습니다. 그러나 이제 나이 들고 자녀들이 다 성장한 지금은 내가 그때 그렇게 희생하고 참고 견디기를 참 잘했구나 하고 생각합니다. 왜냐하면 그때 제가 그렇게 하지 않았더라면 아마 내 가정이 온전하게 유지되지 못했을 수도 있고, 또 하나는 남편이 지금은 나이 들어서 저의 그 견뎌냄을 고맙게 생각하고 지금은 감사하게 여깁니다. 그래서 지금은 이것이 참 좋은 가르침이구나. 내가 그런 교육을 받기를 잘했다라고 믿고 있습니다. 감사합니다.
Master, I understand what Jumi's talking about. I'm older than Jumi. I understand when I was young, I had the similar thought as Jumi. I was questioning myself, why can I fulfill my aspirations? Why do I have to sacrifice? If I reborn next time, I'm going to born as a man. And I'm sacrificing and yielding, but it's for the family. Now I think about it, if I didn't do that, if I didn't sacrifice or yield, my family is not going to be doing as well as now. Now my husband is showing gratitude toward my sacrifice and yielding, and I think that was a good teaching that I learned, and that was a very good education that I learned, and I was able to support my family.
Okay, thank you. The rest of you agree or disagree? Okay. Remember I said, when you look at you measure the success or accomplishments in your lives by money, by recognition, by profit and gains, by fame and so forth, by social status, those people who live like that end up very unhappy. The family actually are broken. They may be together because of benefit, because they hang around to have a clan where they can have power in numbers and so forth, but they're not happy. You have to think about that. You have to think about if life is about all these external things, although those external things don't last, they don't give you lasting pleasure, lasting happiness. Okay? Whereas like Ru Chu just said, he says, yes, I took losses, I made sacrifices, and while in her case, while in many cases people don't notice that, but in her case, actually the family noticed that and they became grateful, especially the husband, appreciated her more. Okay? And that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons is that it's not about recognition from your husband. It's what she just said. What did she say? She didn't mention money. She didn't mention success. Didn't mention social status. Okay? What did she say? I feel I'm happier. That it's been worth it. That's what I didn't hear from rich and powerful people, successful people, famous people. I never hear them say, it's been worth it. I'm happier, and I'm glad I made those sacrifices. And it takes one person like that to influence the next generation so that the next generation will do the right things and have a chance to be happier. Okay, more balance. Okay, and those are considered by Confucius, a great sage, very wise man, and to the Buddhists as well. Those are considered superior people. Unfortunately, the Chinese only have a term called 君子, which is very sexist. Okay? But it's translated into English as the noble man. My translation is noble. It's a noble heart. People with a noble heart. Not necessarily just men, but women as well. Okay? The people with noble heart are the one who will tend to be happier than the others, if that matters to you. Because, that money, you never have enough money. Okay? Food makes you fat. Too much sleep makes you numb and dumb and slow. Too much sexual desire kills you, makes you age, and you die sooner. Fame will make you extremely unhappy because you need that adoration. You depend on others' approval. That's a horrible thing to do to yourself. You need someone else to approve of you in order to be happy. And you're completely at others' mercy. Okay? So you see, that's a difference between the Asian value system and Western value systems. Asian value systems, we have all these things called benevolence, propriety, righteousness, wisdom, and trustworthiness. Those are the foundation for your own personal happiness, number one. Number two, those are what differentiate you from others. Okay? What is your core values? Okay? This is why I feel that the Asian education should not be dismissed. We should go back to it. And especially since the schools nowadays do not stress anymore, the parents have to pay attention to this. Okay? They can help their children by becoming a good person themselves. The children learn from watching you, not from your words. They watch you as well. Okay, be a good person, be yielding. Okay, it doesn't apply just to women, but it also applies to men as well. Men also needs to yield. I like to say it in terms of our French Weiyang. Men have to kiss up to the girls, okay, as yielding. That's important, okay? Men have to make sacrifices as well, okay? So if you really have wisdom, you don't really segregate men from women, okay? Because ultimately, when you have wisdom, there's no more men, there's no more women. It's only unisex. Okay, the bodhisattvas are what is it called nowadays? Bisexual or asexual? I'm so confused nowadays. Jane said, in order for her to apply for a grant for her university projects, they have genders that around 10 different types of gender choices. It's so confusing. I can't keep up with the proliferation of these terms. But it's confusion when you think about it. Okay? Ultimately, it's no difference between men and women. We both have hearts. We both are inherently good people. We both are capable of wisdom. Okay? And that's what the real measure of success in life is about. How benevolent you are. How big is your heart? Whether you propriety, stress this to your children. You need to stress, and the young people, propriety is known in Western world as decorum, okay, which is defined as being polite, being respectful. Okay, we have a common grounds here. We must be understand about propriety. Okay, we need to teach the children that. Need to be appropriate. Okay, need to be righteous. Righteous. Remember, righteous refers to when you're starting out, especially the children. Okay, they need to know the right from the wrong, and they need to be taught. We all need to stay on the right side. Okay, that's where it's safe. That's where you grow in the right direction. If you venture on the wrong side, you hurt yourself. You will cause a lot of grief to yourself and to your family. Okay, so that's why starting out, you need to very important, to stay on the right side. Okay, do the right things, avoid doing the bad things. All right, that's what righteousness is about. And when you go into the higher realms where you develop wisdom, then it's a different concept of righteousness. But we're talking about normal people, ordinary people, okay? There must be, starting out, we must stress right from wrong, okay? I remember one thing that surprised me to this day is that in my era, we started having, I went to college, my friends started trying drugs, marijuana, hashish. My older brother's into marijuana, hashish, cocaine, you name it. Okay? And that's fashionable. Okay? Because your friends do it, so it must be okay. So I remember the one thing that stood out is that I was scared, actually frightened of those drugs. For some reason, never tried them before, but I was scared of them. Okay? And it turns out to be a blessing, because if you are younger and you go into drugs, you go into the wrong side and you lose total control of yourself. Okay? So one of the things we need to stress our children, especially nowadays, especially in the U.S., the drug dealers are everywhere. They go into the schools now to sell to our kids. It's very scary to me. You need to watch our children, okay? Because when you go to school, they have so many temptations. And if they get hooked on drugs, it's going to be a lot of pain, grief and pain for you, and very difficult for them to recover. Okay? So you see, that's what about right there. It's wrong to do drugs. So stay away from that. Okay? You should be afraid of drugs. You should be afraid to do the wrong things. Okay? That's what we need to instill in our children, and that's how we need to be ourselves. Avoid doing the wrong things. Be afraid to do the wrong things. Okay? I'm serious about this. Righteousness is not just about knowing right from wrong, but we should take a step further by saying that we are afraid to do the wrong things because it's stupidity and we can hurt ourselves and we may not be able to recover from that. If we can't even do that, don't expect our children to be able to do that. Okay? Wisdom. Number 4, wisdom. Wisdom here, let me tell you what wisdom is. Okay? I'll explain to you in terms of practical Buddhist concepts, not just Confucius values. Wisdom here is the ability to solve your problems. Wisdom is extremely practical. In Buddhism, we value wisdom because with wisdom, wise people are able to solve their problems better. Okay? Why is that? I don't understand how the Westerners can go and teach us that life is about being successful and so forth. Okay, success comes naturally because you're able to solve your problems. Success is only a natural consequence of your being able to solve the problem. You see, that's how the Westerners are confused. People like, in the world, they say, I need to be successful. I need to make a lot of money. I need to have power. I need to have influence. Okay, but they don't realize that even if you have power, you have an influence, it's only because you're able to solve your problems. And in order for you to have even more power, more influence, you need to even solve bigger and better problems. Make sense? That's more success for you. So success is not about how much power you have, how much money you have. Success is about how well you can solve your problems. How's that? That's wisdom. So Chan is a systematic practice where if you improve in Chan, your Chan skills get higher and higher, you're naturally developing your wisdom. At each higher level, your wisdom increases. And therefore, you're able to solve bigger problems better. And therefore, you'll be successful in your own terms, not under others' terms, because if they measure you in terms of money, you say, well, if money is important to me, I will measure in terms of money. But I'm not going to measure my success because my husband thinks I need to make more money. You understand? It's about you. You decide your measure of success, okay? Not others. Okay? That's wisdom. Wisdom is that you are successful at work. You go home, you apply that wisdom to solve the problems at home. Your children have problems. Children is in crisis. You use the wisdom. Sit down, use the wisdom to fix it, to address it. See? Wisdom is universal. And that's why you need to do Chan. I stress to you again, every day you need to do Chan. And you need to set a goal when you do Chan. Okay? Improve. Increase your wisdom. Because your wisdom will increase naturally as you improve. All right? Yeah. See, and finally, fifth one is trustworthiness. Okay? Trustworthiness is sincerity as a Confucian, like they say it, and so forth. But trustworthiness to me is that you have people who really care for you. All right, and I feel that a lot of people I know success. I know quite a few people are successful, rich, and so forth, and famous, but they feel very lonely. Okay, because they're not trustworthy. Okay, so this is what is lacking in the Western education. You cannot measure your happiness by money, by your own satisfaction, by getting what you want. It's about these core values, which will give you the foundation to know happiness. And it's too bad that your educators, the Asian educators, don't understand this well enough to teach it to you instead of just forcing upon you as you must yield, you must make sacrifices, okay? Because they don't understand themselves anymore. All right? These are your core values as a human being, as far as I'm concerned. Okay? You need not worry about, why does it matter? Why should it matter that people, your strangers or people who really don't care about you have to approve of you? Why does it matter to you? Doesn't matter to me. Okay? I can't care less if people like on me or not. Okay? It's about whether I'm happy with myself, whether I can look myself in the mirror, okay? Wake up in the morning before I put on my makeup. Okay? I can look myself in the mirror and say, this is not a bad person. I'm not turned off by myself. That's important to me. Okay? Because I don't know, you remember the scenes from the movie Bullet? Anyone? Bullet, it's an American movie. Steve McQueen? No? That's before your time. Okay? He's a very violent cop, and he kills the bad guys. Okay? He's known to go around when he assigns a bad guy, he ends up killing them, all of them. So he has a bad reputation. Okay, and he goes through this movie here where he chased after a bad guy. He killed one, bad guy after bad guy, but the bad guy. Okay, and to the point where his girlfriend, fiance to be, was so upset and said, "Why are you so bloody? Why are you so violent? Why do you keep on killing people? How can I live with someone like that?" So she abandoned him. Okay, she dropped him. And so the final scene is that he went home by himself, okay? Yeah. Being successful at his job, all right? Yeah. And he went home by himself, okay? And the final scene is that he's in the bathroom. This stuck in my mind. For some reason, in the bathroom, washing his hands, okay? Of the blood, maybe the blood in his hands. He's been killing all day, okay? And he's washing blood in his hand, and the final shot was he looked himself in the mirror. Okay, his cold eyes looking himself in the mirror, okay? And that's what stuck with me, that mirror, that movie. It found meaning in the sense that I have to look at myself, whatever I do during the day, okay? At the end of the day, I have to look at myself in the mirror. Am I happy with myself or not? And you know what? In that movie, may I tell you my view of that movie? Go see that movie, Bullet. It should be available on YouTube. You can get it for free, okay? It's a good movie. It's very violent, and you're into violence like I am, okay? And Mustang. And what stuck with me is that final shot where he looked himself, he's cold, okay, like the way he looks at the bad guys he killed. He killed a bad guy. Look at him. Okay, I kill another one. He's not happy, nor unhappy. This is something he does, okay, and so. That's what stuck in my mind. I said that you have to look at yourself and you have to decide whether you're happy with yourself or not. This guy is so confused. He doesn't care even about himself. What kind of life is that? So he's a successful cop. He's adored by people like me, okay? But he doesn't give a hoot about himself. What kind of life is that? So why is it success? To you, not to me. Okay? So success to me is that you have to approve yourself. That your core value is right. Not about others. Okay? What others think are not of primary importance. Okay? you have to decide for yourself. Am I a good person? Okay? And number two, will the people with wisdom, virtuous people, would approve of me? That's what matters. It's not about, your fans. It's not about, the people, the strangers who would adore you, whatever. They adore you one moment and they will throw rocks at you, eggs and tomatoes at you the next moment. That's how life is. And that's why I find, for example, I met a lot of young Chinese people, and they have this ill-conceived notion of success. They quoted me on one hand values of Confucian values, on the other hand, and they adopt the Western value systems of measures of success. That's why they're confused like heck. They're so confused. They talk well. They say, oh, I'm supposed to be, a virtuous person, so forth. They would quote you all the Confucian values, systems, and Buddhist teaching, and so forth. But what they do is that just the exact opposite. They're very confused. Questions, comments? And that's what Jumi is paving herself for. She will go to be successful in her career, make a lot of money, and so forth, and she will end up being unhappy like most Westerners. Yes, go ahead, Ruchi.
두 가지 질문이 있습니다. 만트라나 혹은 부처님 명호를 염송할 때 잘못 카운트하는 경우가 있는데 그럴 때는 어떻게 해야 좋습니까? 두 번째 질문은 특히 대비주를 염송할 때 하다가 틀리게 염송하는 경우가 있습니다. 예를 들어서 어떤 구절을 건너뛴다거나 아니면 다시 재반복을 한다거나 하는 식으로 잘못 염송할 때가 있습니다. 집중력이 떨어져서 그러겠죠. 그럴 때는 또 어떻게 해야 되는지요?
Master, I have two questions. Number one, it's about when I recite a mantra or reciting Buddha's name. Sometimes I miscount how many times actually I recite. And number two question is, especially when I recite Great Compassion Mantra, I realize that I sometimes recite incorrectly. For example, I skip a verse or I repeat verses. And this situation happens and I recite incorrectly. I'm sure this is due to my insufficient concentrations, but how can I help myself in these situations?
Okay, two problems. Number one is the miscount. Don't worry about that. Use those recitation beats, okay? That to keep track of the proper count. That should help tremendously. And number two, sometimes she skips lines, okay, or repeat lines. That's normal too, okay? Don't be alarmed. It's a natural thing. Kind of explain it to you in private later if we have a chance to talk. I don't want to explain these things in public because then other people might misunderstand, and then especially there are a lot of monks and nuns out there who don't actually practice at all, and they simply pleasurize. They just repeat what they hear and without understanding what it really means. Okay, and so that's not good for Buddhism. It's just like you encourage this attitude of I know it all, instead of you have to work hard in order to open your wisdom. Okay, it's hard work. cultivation is hard work. You're not willing to work hard, then you're not supposed to know. Okay, that knowledge you know is actually comes from your dantian, is from your heart. It's not from the books. The book is only confirmation for you. It's not supposed to replace hard work. Okay, so that's why quite often I don't explain everything to you, or I stop short in order to avoid these bookworms who would read everything, but they don't, and they're not willing to practice. And I've seen too many disciples. I have seen too many monks. I've seen too many disciples. Master YongHua do that. Okay, it's called cheating. Okay, in Buddhism, in Chan, in Mahayana, okay, we teach you from what we know, not from reading books alone. Okay, so that's why there are a lot of things that we're not writing down in books for those reasons. Okay, so in brief, you have a problem repeating the lines in the Great Compassion Mantra. Me too, I have that problems. I would skip lines as well. Okay, I used to skip lines as well. It's also a common problem. There's a reason for those things. Okay, don't worry. Continue. You keep on reciting. Eventually, you stop skipping those lines. Then you skip another line later. So don't get a big head. Say, "Oh, I can fix this problem." No. You will have that problem somewhere else. Okay, that's natural. It's a natural part of developing your skills. Okay, I wouldn't worry. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Then we can end a little bit early, since we can finish what I wanted to say today, and we can go into rectify family, or if you feel like it, next time. Anything else? Okay. So yes, there is a yellow hand at GMT.
예, 좀 물어보겠습니다. 불교는 무상, 무아, 고잖아요. 무아, 나라고 할 게 아무것도 없다. 예, 그냥 무아에 대해서만 물어보겠습니다. 무아. 예. 예, 그러니까 무아에 대해서 물어보겠습니다. 무아. 근데 이제 우리가 예.
Buddhism is about no form, no self, and suffering. I have a question about no self.
예, 무아라 그러는데 이제 가끔 대승경전을 보면은 오직 한 물건이 항상 홀로 밝아 고요하고 고요해서 삶과 죽음에 이르지 않다. 이래서 한 물건이 자꾸 있다 그러거든요. 그 참나라는 이야기도 그 스님도 자꾸 그런 참나라는 이야기를 저는 본문에서 제가 한번 들어봤고요. 그러니까 이제 경전에서 보면은 오직 한 물건이 항상 홀로 밝아 고요하고 고요해서 삶과 죽음에 이르지 않다, 이런 그 경전 구가 있거든요. 예.
Master, I'm going to try my best. He quote a sutra, some verses from sutra. He says it's about no self. Only there's a one thing that is so quiet and quiet. Realize there's no life or death. Something like that.
Which sutra?
그게 이제 그 제사를 지내는 한 군데요. 한문 한번 읽어줄까요? 한문으로.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm asking you
법요 일물 상동로
when you quote,
담념 불수 어생사.
you want to give me a quote, you better tell me which sutra. Okay, for my education. You want me to teach you, you have to teach me as well. Okay, now I can relate to
경전은 지금
you.
기억이 안 나고요. 예.
Master,
그럼 제가 그냥 간단하게 한번
I cannot
물어볼게요.
remember which sutra it came from. It's something related to the funeral.
Relate to the what?
A funeral ceremony, like funeral.
No, Sarah, it's not funeral ceremony. It's 제사 is the ancestor ceremony, not
Okay.
funeral. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay. This is what Buddhism teaches. Buddhism is the only religion that teaches about no self. And that's because that's the teaching of wisdom. You meditate. You should meditate to the point where you find out there's no self. Okay? It's not a concept. It is a discovery. You see, the typical Buddhists, the typical non-Buddhists, they read our text, or most Buddhists would read our text and say, there's no self. Okay? And they all talk like that. They all say, of course there's no self. So how can they be suffering? So they're contradicting yourself constantly. But they miss the point completely. When we talk about no self, it's not a concept. It's about you. Have you experienced no self yet?
예, 좀 느끼고는 있습니다. 느끼고 있는데, 근데 항상 보면은 뭐 나라고 할 게 아무것도 없다, 뭐 이렇게 좀 느낌은 있는데, 뭐 모든 게 이제 일어나다 사라질 뿐이잖아, 그죠? 근데 이제 그걸 이제 항상 지켜보는 게 있단 말이에요. 그거를 참나라 그러는, 대승에서는 항상 참나라고 항상 이야기를 하잖아요. 참나가 있다고, 이렇게. 그게 좀 헷갈려서 물어보는 겁니다.
So he answers, I think I experienced somewhat no self. And also I realized that the thoughts arise and also disappears. And there's something actually watching that phenomena. And in Buddhism, also there's another concept of true self. So I'm kind of a little bit confused with all this thing.
Okay. Excuse me. It takes too long to explain to you. But let me tell you quickly, what you experience is not no self. It's far from being no self. Number one. Number two, I can explain the concept of no self in Buddhism for you. What is no self from Buddhism? Let me tell you about my personal experience. Okay? You read any Buddhist text, most Buddhist texts, not just sutras, would talk about no self. Because we brag about it. The Buddhists like to brag about it. Of course, there's no self. Okay? So it's everywhere. That's why I was making fun of him. Which text? Because it's everywhere. You pick up a book, any substantial book in Buddhism should mention the concept of no self. It's everywhere. Okay? Now, it happened to me too. I read about the concept of no self when I was younger. I first started. And then I remember this senior monk disciple, Master YongHua, who was scolding me. He's scolding me so violently. I think that's why I learned about violence from a Buddhist monk. He's violent as a monk. I said, if he can be that violent, so can I. That's because Master YongHua, our teacher, says he's supposed to train us, right? So if he shows that he's treated me with such violence, therefore it's okay for me to treat my disciples with violence as well. Okay? So there's a precedent. Okay? Okay. So he was actually, I was actually chastising me and scolding me and yelling at me for an hour. Will you imagine? He must have thought I was stupid or something. He kept on telling me, there's no self. When are you going to get it? You keep on doing this, but there's no self. Why do you keep on doing that? And then you also do that. But you have to realize you have no self. Why would you do that? Okay? And I listened to it I was kneeling because I was a novice. So he's chastising me and punishing me in front of, the senior people. Okay? And I was a novice then. So I was kneeling down on the tiles. Okay? These people are cruel. Not only they're violent, they're also cruel. For an hour, actually I had to kneel for 2 to 3 hours on the bare tiles. Okay? And I was kneeling, but he was scolding me for an hour. And I was listening to that. I was putting my time together, and so he would scream at me. There's no self. There's no self. There's no self. And I said, "When are you gonna get it?" And I was listening. I listened. Okay. And I said, you know what crossed my mind? I know. Of course, there's no self. Why do you keep on telling me something I know? Tell me something I don't know, for God's sake. Don't you get it? I know about no self. Okay? You don't have to yell at me to tell me about something I already know. I pick it up from books. I knew about the concept of no self already. It's everywhere. Why don't you tell me how I can see this no self? Don't tell me about it. Tell me how I can have a no self. You understand the difference between our Buddhism and their Buddhism? My Buddhism, I teach you Chan meditation. I talk to you about these things. All this is designed to bring you to the state for you, each and every one of you, to see that there's no self. That's why I'm doing this. We're not talking about it. In order for me to bring you to the state of no self, I cannot tell you how and bring it to you. You understand? It's not about concept. It's about leading you there so that you see, this is what no self is. It's no longer a concept. It's about you. So you want me to keep on talking about no self week after week after week, month after month, year after year? I can do that too. And what does it do for you? give you a bigger head. I know about no self. I learned from Master YongHua. You know, he's an expert, no self, and he's been teaching me about no self. No self in Buddhism is for you to experience, not for you to know. Knowing is nonsense. Knowing is a false thought. I know about no self. I understand about no self. It is false. It's only a thought. No self is a state of being. Let me tell you about what it is. No self. May I? Or you want me to explain to you what no self is in principle? No self is happiness. No self is great success. We're not talking about small success, people. We're talking about great success. So what do you want? You want small success or great success? I would want you to experience great success, not just small things. It's a waste of our times otherwise. But the great news is that until you experience great success, you will experience small success. Until you experience great happiness, you will experience small happiness. That's what we promise you. That's what you experience. Otherwise, you should drop out. Don't waste your time. Okay? That's the last thing I want you to do is waste your time on me. Okay? Life is too short. You should go have fun. You should go, drink, eat, play with your children. Be happy. Okay? Instead of wasting your time. All right? Thank you, everyone. We need to stop because I get scolded too by my own disciples and Master never keeps time. Q&A, quickly, Q&A. 빨리.
감사합니다.
Self, thank you for explaining the definition of no self. But to me, no self is very simple for my little mind. That for my example, like my son, to me, I love him so much. He's my son. But then when I think about no self, that means I have to drop the concept of my son so that when I look at other children at the same age as my kid, I love them just like the way I love my son, and it's impossible to make. So what I learned to look is from the compassion point where I see children, they make mistake or do something really bad, then I look and see where's the background, where they come from. And then from there, the love grows for them and I treat them with love and respect. And that's how I learned to grow a little step of learning to drop the self concept.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, thank you, everyone. Good job. I see you next time. Thank you.